Hello.
Hello. So, hello, hello, Cecile.
All my apologies for joining late. I'm here now.
Yes, we will start the webinar. So, hello, welcome to our UNIDO's first session in a series of our 3 events during the EU Industry Week 2021. The topic of today's session is called Investment Promotion as Driver for Competitiveness and Sustainable Development. My name is Yoshie Fujiyama, Associate Expert at UNIDO's Investment and Technology Promotion Division, ITP, and I will moderate today's session. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome our distinguished guest speakers and our audience to this session. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Wei-Shi Gon, Chief of Investment and Technology Promotion Division, ITP, and ITP Network Coordinator at UNIDO, for the first opening remarks. Mr. Gon, the floor is yours.
Distinguished panelists, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you today to the first event in the 3-part UNIDO event series in the framework of EU Industry Week 2021. Today, we will explore the role of investment and technology promotion for increased competitiveness of developing countries. As Chief of Investment and Technology Promotion Division of UNIDO, I'm glad that we managed to bring such an interesting and competent panel together to explore this topic further, highlighting UNIDO EU cooperation and also shedding light on UNIDO services and programs related to investment technology promotion. We not only showcased examples of one of our key important investment promotion projects jointly implemented between UNIDO EU and OACPS. This session will also introduce UNIDO network of investment technology promotion offices around the world. The following 2 sessions of the series on 10th March and 24th March will focus on the work of ITPO Italy and ITPO Germany, the 2 ITPOs of our network located in EU member states. Wishing us all an interesting, fruitful insight for first session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gon. And now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Patrick Gilabert, the representative of UNIDO Brussels office, for his opening remarks. Mr. Gilabert, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yoshi, and thank you very much, Wei-Shi. Dear colleagues and participants, I would like to welcome you to this first session dedicated to investment promotion, competitiveness, and sustainable development. We thank our speakers from EU, OACPS, and UNIDO, and we appreciate the presence of such a large number of participants. I was told that you are about 300 people connected today, so thank you very much. This is the first conference of a series of 3. The second sessions will be highlighting sustainable industrial development in Italy, organized by the ITPO office in Italy on the 10th of March at 10:30. And the third one will be on investment and technology transfer in Germany and in Europe and in Africa, organized by the office in Germany, to be held on the 24th of March at 2 o'clock. This will be the opportunity to showcase UNIDO partnership in the field of investment promotion with private sector in Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Pacific and Caribbean states. We all know that investment and industry are the powerhouse of the world economic growth, providing more than 500 million jobs directly from manufacturing. This engine, this powerhouse, is now under pressure since 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. On investment, we expect global FDI flows to decrease by 40% in 2020. This will bring FDI below $1 trillion for the first time in 15 years. $1 trillion for the first time in 15 years. The impact will be high on developing economies, developing countries, because they rely more on investment in the global value chain. In Africa, for example, FDI should fall by 25 to 40% in 2020. On industry, UNIDO estimates a decline of the world manufacturing production by 8.4% in 2020. So, in front of such unique challenges, the international community is working together. Here in Brussels, we have an example of partnership between the EU, OACPS, and UNIDO. This morning, we will present to you concrete projects to support private sector in the EU and ACP countries. I hope you will find this session interesting, and don't hesitate to contact us and to contact me in case you wish to get more information. You've got my email in my picture. So I wish you a very good conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dilavert. And now, before the next topic, I'd like to have a quick poll to find out more about our audience today. So please select one option. Thank you very much for your quick response. Now, as half of the people has responded, let us wait for more 10 seconds. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to close the poll now. Okay, 5. So this is the result, and thank you very much. This is very helpful to see what might be interesting to the audience today, so thank you. And kindly note that at the end of our event today, we have a brief Q&A session, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. And please include your name, affiliation, and to whom your question is addressed to. So now moving to the topic of investment and technology promotion as driver for competitiveness in EU UNIDO context, I'd like to invite Mr. Bernardo Calzadilla Sarmiento, UNIDO's Managing Director of Directorate of Digitalization, Technology and Agribusiness, and Director of the Department of Digitalization, Technology and Innovation. Mr. Calzadilla Sarmiento, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yeah. Good. Madame Bilot, Mr. Oliveira Gomez, Mr. Lopez, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy and so pleased to welcome you to this event in the framework of the EU Industry Week 2021. The Industry Days, the EU Industry Days 2021 focus on opportunities on building greener, more digital and resilient industry. This focus is highly relevant at a time where the global community is still grappling with the COVID-19 health crisis and associated social and economic effects. UNIDO and the UN agency is the UN agency promoting inclusive and sustainable industrial development for poverty reduction, inclusive globalization, and environmental and sustainability. And we are helping member states to contain the crisis, to respond and adapt to it, as well as to recover. The far-reaching effects of the current pandemic have also forced the world to consider the urgency of structural shifts towards the digital and virtual sphere, with COVID-19 becoming a very unexpected accelerator of the fourth industrial revolution. the crisis represents an opportunity to leverage disruptive innovations such as blockchain, drones, 3D printing to future-proof sectors, fostering a long-term resilience and building a better future. We have some pertinent examples of how UNIDO Investment and Technology Promotion Network has contributed to COVID-19 response by building bridges between the private and public sector and by supporting the transfer of technologies to developing countries. We will hear during this session and during this series about the activities of ITPOs in Europe, such as Italy and Germany, but now I would like to focus on two examples. ITPO Tokyo, for example, helped mitigate the impact of the pandemic in Africa and Asia through technology transfer from Japan. And this was a very large program that helped us really to deploy at least 12 to 14 technologies to developing countries. In other cases, ITPO Shanghai facilitated the use of automated vehicles in Wuhan Field Hospital for transport and medical supplies. And this is the role that the ITPO has. They really are the bridge between the different stakeholders in the countries. The activities they complement certainly an overall UNIDO concerted effort to respond to COVID-19 in the industrial sector, including a guide we did for SMEs, for business continuity and recovery, and the launch of UNIDO's COVID-19 industrial recovery program that is based on the concept of mise à niveau. It's based on the concept of modernization of industries and has been quite topical and demanded. I would also like to emphasize that gender-responsive approaches are essential for a crisis response and beyond. UNIDO is currently working on an e-learning course on gender lens investment, and our ITPOs are very much engaged, especially in Germany, in this gender lens investment activity, and they are promoting more responsible investment, impact investment, leading finally to greater prosperity. Today's event will showcase the importance of ITPO promotion as driver of competitiveness, we heard it, as technological transformation and sustainable development. It will introduce investment network, but also other services, including tools and methodologies for project appraisal. We will hear also about feasibility studies, such as computer model for CONVAR, which empowers to make high pre-investment decision. Many of the UNIDO programs are well aligned with the EU agenda in those areas, not least by the EU-funded project ACP business-friendly program. I will not elaborate on it. You will hear during the event many times about it. It is a flagship program of UNIDO. UNIDO works with the EU member states in the implementation of the program, partnering also with private and public sector, for instance, with French businesses to foster the engagement in ACP countries. I look forward listening to our project partners from EU and OACPS during the session. The EU partnership has more than 20-year track record in areas such as quality infrastructure and industrial upgrading. I was myself involved at the beginning. We started in Burkina Faso with the UMOA, with a collaboration to make really a competitiveness work for development. And we started in really a context of LDC, but today we are very proud that we have a very solid quality infrastructure. And this good collaboration have moved more and more in areas such as sustainable energy, circular economy, and certainly also investment promotion. Since 2009, EU institutions and bilateral providers from the EU member states are the largest contributors to UNIDO's technical cooperation and policy advisory services. The cooperation has progressed through policy dialogue, joint programming based on developing countries or regions' needs to advance sustainable development globally. During the current decade, significant public and private investments are required to bring SDGs and goals of the Paris Agreement to life for all people everywhere. Even before the crisis, the financing gap to achieve the SDGs was significant. The situation became further aggravated, and it was mentioned by Patrick, during the COVID pandemic, which caused a dramatic decline in FDI. This also recognized by the WTO, and we expect many changes on that side, but there is some work going on towards an investment facilitation agreement for more transparent, efficient, and investment-friendly business climate. The pace and extent of the adoption of new technologies under the fourth industrial revolution will depend on this investment and the investment climate and investment policy environment. In this regard, investment and technology promotion are intertwined and represent an important building block for successfully increasing competitiveness and strengthening the capabilities of all countries to achieve a digital, gender-neutral, and sustainable future. Let me finalize by saying that UNIDO remains committed to continue our collaboration with the EU and the beneficiary countries in the different areas, but in particular in investment promotion and technology promotion, which is so fundamental to the migration into a new paradigm that has to be more inclusive, has to be more sustainable, and has to really help us to recover from COVID-19. I would like herewith thank all speakers and audience for joining today's session. Thank you for the attention and wish you a good webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bernardo Calzadilla Sarmiento. And now I'd like to invite Ms. Cecile Bio, the head of UNIDO EU, the Directorate General for International Partnership of European Commission. Previously, Ms. Bio served as the head of ACP unit in the Directorate General for Trade. So Ms. Bio, please, you have the floor. Ms. Bio, I think you are unmuted. Sorry. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start again. Dear Bernardo, dear Scipion, dear Vexi and Patrick, and all panelists and participants, I was happy to hear that you have about 300 participants. This is quite impressive. And many of you are also coming from the UN. So I'm very happy to have been invited today by UNIDO for this webinar and to have the opportunity to give a couple of remarks. I think for us, again, today, it's a really great opportunity to show our strategic partnership with UNIDO. And it's really based on shared objectives that we want to promote sustainable, inclusive development and support the private sector in this direction, as well as trade and decent job creation. So I very much recognize when you were saying, Bernardo, of a sustainable, inclusive, digital and green recovery. That's very much at the core of the EU agenda too. It is also a very good opportunity to highlight our strategic partnership with the organization of ACP's country and OACPS, now that has been also reinforced under our new post-Cotonou agreement between the ACP country and the EU. So I think, as I heard before me, both Bernardo, Vexi and Patrick talking about this kind of year we are in, which is a strategic, difficult year because of the pandemic, which is actually was started last year, but okay, we are in the second year into it. It is challenging and it is a truly global challenge. It has really affected us in how we prepare things and how we cope with the massive challenges. And really in this dimension, it has really reinforced also as the EU our ambition not to leave no one behind and to strengthen partnership like we have with UNIDO and OACPS. Some of the changes by this pandemic are dramatic. I mean, of course, for example, when we see that the lack of digital skills and infrastructure is really taking a toll on companies, students, and families alike. Also, consequences of inequalities are clearer now than they have ever been before. And if possible, the Sustainable Development Goals are even more crucial now than they may have been a year ago. We are seeing also disruption at global, regional, local value chain with direct impact on consumption and demand income losses, loss of employment, and bankruptcy of many business. I won't go too much into detail about the figures. Patrick and Bernardo mentioned a number of them, but it is indeed, when we look at the figures of various organizations, the latest I've read was UNIDO, not on SDA investment flows. We look at a decrease in the range of 50% in Africa or 40% in Latin America. So this is something that is, of course, scary and challenging for us. But really, to give a positive spin into that, and like in any crisis, I mean, we have challenges, but we also should be able to identify the opportunities. Often in time of crisis, that's also where we have opportunities, and we have opportunities to sort of increase our work. And I very much think that's the spirit that we want to take in the EU now. More than ever, we want really to sort of signal a very strong and not changing commitment that we will do whatever it takes to try to take this storm out and to work together on the global economic recovery. And to do that, more or less a year ago from today, at the beginning of the crisis, we launched what was originally conceived as a joint effort to support partner countries in the fight against the pandemic, has now evolved really in a sustainable way of working for us in the European Commission and in the DG I'm representing today, in charge of international partnership, working together with partner countries, and because we believe that by doing that we have more impact by being all together and working effectively in partnership to try to readdress this approach. In concrete terms, Teams Europe mean, of course, for us as the EU institution to work with our EU member states, but also to have a united front with international players such as UNIDO, with partner government, with financial institutions, but also private sector, civil society. So to try to have a platform where we all look in the same direction and work toward the same objective. Team Europe started with a commitment of over 20 billion back last April, and we are now reaching 38.5 billion euro. We are also one of the lead contributors to COVAX initiative with over 2.2 billion euro, getting closer to the target of delivering 1.3 billion doses for 92 low and middle income countries by the end of this year. Under our tool, which is called the EFSD+, we will expand our approach globally and quite substantially in terms of amounts allocated for guarantee and blending finance. So looking more into innovative way of having impact and using our funds at the EU level to leverage the investment in developing countries. Of course, what is very also important to us, and something we also covering in my unit, it's very much looking at the investment climate and making sure it is becoming more stable, clear, transparent, and reliable, so that private sector would engage and would invest in developing country more. This is a key factor. We know it, and it's still something that deserves high attention for us. Supporting people and firms to mitigate the impact of the pandemic and building back better will continue to be at the center of our agenda, as I just said. We will continue supporting policy measures that maintain stability, boost confidence, and cope with the overall impact of the economic environment. Also, it's not I'm saying it at the end, but it's not because it's less important, but we really want to have our partnership with our partner country all around the world, which is also based on common mutual interest and shared values, because it's by doing it together and having the same interest, seeing where we can have the same interest, that we can work best together. Now, UNIDO is an essential partner to the EU in this endeavor. To date, we have more than 200 million under implementation, covering issues such as circular economy, VAT, so educational training, regional value chains, or supporting business-friendly policies. Right now, we are working hand-to-hand with our partner, the OACPS, on a new intervention on technical barrier to trade. It is technical, but it is very important, and it will be implemented by UNIDO and support regional organization for standardization to try to get a quality culture at regional and national level. I would like to end my intervention really by acknowledging something we all know. We are facing challenges that we have never faced before. We need to continue moving ahead with the SDG in mind, trying to, as much as possible, make progress, or at least avoid at all costs moving backwards. None of us single-handed can do that. More than ever, we need to build or strengthen partnerships. We need to continue joining force with key players like UNIDO. When together with the OACPS, we designed back in 2017 the business-friendly program, bringing together the knowledge and experience of 3 major players such as World Bank, the ITC, and UNIDO. We were convinced that this was a good idea. Now we are convinced it's a requirement. It's not only a good idea. If we are to jointly support partner countries fight the pandemic and build back together. And let me now finish by quoting our Commissioner Jutta Urpilainen, with an inspiring, hopefully, a sentence when she said recently, there is now global recognition that the world must put aside its difference and come together against a common threat. By leaving no one behind, by promoting solidarity and acting in a truly inclusive way, even if we may have been separated physically, we are united. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bio. Now I'd like to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Espion Joaquim Oliveira Gomez, Assistant Secretary General of the Department of Structural Economic Transformation and Trade Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, OACPS, and on the OACPS EU UNIDO partnership to address the developmental challenges in the 6 OACPS regions. Mr. Oliveira Gomez, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Joshi. Buenos dias todos. I am really honored to be here today with Wexy, with Patrick, Bernardo, Cecile, and other friends that will speak after us. I have heard a lot of words of partnership, and that's what development is about. We are partners in development, and together, UNIDO, the European Union, and the OACPS, we're really seeking a better life for our people. I will allow myself to present through a presentation because I believe that images say 1,000 words. Plus, as you may see, maybe my words are not that, in English, are not that clear. So we're here today addressing what are the development challenges of our people and how the joint collaboration with the European Union, which is our main partner really in development, and UNIDO, we are trying to search a better future for our people. Just for those that don't know the OACPS, we are the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. We became an international organization in April last year, and we evolved from the ACP group that was founded via the Georgetown Agreement in 1975, with a lot of help of the European Union at the time and continued help. Today, we are composed of 79 African, Caribbean, and Pacific states. I myself, by the accent, you've seen that I am from the Caribbean and Spanish speaking. The OACPS promotes sustainable development of our member states and their gradual integration into the global economy with the ultimate objective of reducing and hopefully eradicating poverty. We work a lot more than giving people fishes, learning them how to fish. So youth and women empowerment are at the center of all of our actions. We are led by His Excellency, Mr. George Rebelo Pinto Chicote, our Secretary General from Angola, who guide us in this quest. So the first thing I wanted just to reassure is that the OACPS are really committed to the sustainability agenda of the United Nations and of all of us. It's something that we work every day to achieve. And even if not every single program that we do impacts directly on one, we have an overall strategy that seeks really to create more justice, partnerships, and really reduce inequalities and create wealth. We do believe that a more peaceful society will come from this work. And we have developed with the European Union a quite complex business development strategy. And you see, we're working with a lot of our friends, the African Union, UNIDO, the World Bank, the European Investment Bank, the Agence France de Développement, even private partners like the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and of course, our own regional institutions like the Farmers Organization for Africa and others in the region, CARIFORUM, the Pacific Island Forum, and others. So the idea is to work on 4 pillars to improve the business and labor environment, to strengthen capacity of intermediary organizations, to support the informal sector through microfinance schemes, and also to promote investment to the private sector, working a lot in blending mechanisms, because we have really understood that our countries have a lot of liquidity, but the SMEs don't have access to that liquidity. So, and some of the things that we are doing, we don't need to tackle all of this in different issues. So the basis of this has to be, we have to share best practices, thus the work in a partnership. We have, at the end of the day, to ensure market access to our people, because it's actually selling the products that will create the wealth. We have to promote the future, youth and women. And at the end of the day, this is all based again and again, and all my colleagues said it before, is partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. Public-private sector dialogue at the national, regional, and OACPS levels is crucial. And if we have learned anything from the COVID crisis, is that no country, region, continent can try to achieve it alone, to successfully ride this wave alone. We have to do it together. So we are reassured that our strategy is working, and because of the way that we've been working, and we have very concrete results that will be later presented by my colleagues after me. I wanted to touch on quality, because quality is one of the things, as Cecile was saying, something that we will be working towards the future, which is really trying to work on technical barriers to trade. And in this regard, we're also working with the European Commission to try to create an early warning mechanism from trade rules for the OACPS. So we are able to understand what new rules are coming. So quality for us is the cornerstone of competitiveness. The OACPS and the European Union were promoting the enhancement of quality infrastructure systems and networks at national and regional levels through joint initiatives. Throughout the ACP, we foster legislative reforms. We improve the business climate. We promote adoption and use of standards. We had a recent discussion with the European Parliament COCOA standards. It was very interesting. And you also have to know that there are the COCOA talks working towards those standards. And those standards not only include quality standards, they also include labor standards, which are of the utmost importance. We want to improve market access and increase the technical capacity of our own institutions, associations, and producers. These actions contribute to enterprise competitiveness and social cohesion and economic inclusion. We believe that these actions will also ensure that our own people in our own countries have access to better goods and services, which is the ultimate goal. We also believe that it's time of a change of mind, time for a paradigm shift. We are living in unprecedented times, not only because of COVID, but because of many things. I come from a time when I used to write to my girlfriend, now my wife, using letters and using stamps and waiting for weeks for her to receive a response or for a photograph. Now there are 3 times, now, right away, and 2 tweets. So we have to change with those times. We have to have new policies that address the needs and challenges confronted by our SMEs. We have to target, among others, again, and I insist a lot, in vulnerable groups and those working in rural areas and from ethnic minorities. We must foster social and economic cultural inclusion to ensure a better personal development and well-being of those targeted, but not only them. We believe that through this we'll be building a more prosperous, peaceful, and fair societies. Part of this, we try to sell it as believing in yourself. Like I said, globalization has changed the way people live and do business. Technological innovations have shrunk the dimensions of time and space. And we have now fear competition in our own markets because we have opened the markets, a lot of our countries, because of trade agreements and WTO compatibility. So at the same time that we are competing in our countries, we have lost some of those traditional markets. So our SMEs every single day struggle to be competitive. The idea that we want to do at the OACPS Secretariat and with our partners is to forge strategic alliances and try to work on 3 main themes that you will see all around, which are where, when, and how. It's basically how to be competitive. We have to articulate stories targeted to consumers with a view of supplying unique products and services worldwide. We are trying collectively to harness competitiveness by basically selling stories and providing dreams with our products and services. Where do we have to act? We have to study the market segments in which we have a competitive advantage. And this is where also the TVT issue comes in. We believe that we have to access as much as possible niche, luxury, fair trade, organic, diaspora, and healthy markets. But in order to do that, your SME has to understand the trends and expectations of those consumers. You do not sell coffee the same way to Japan that you would sell in the United States. You have to adapt the labels, the taste and everything. You really have to do a lot of market research. What is the products that we will offer? We cannot continue to compete, especially those from all small islands like myself, in prices or volumes. We basically do not have the space really to go into humongous value, humongous extensions. But we have to work in quality, and I'm very happy that Cecile touched that point. With the quality, again, is the cornerstone. We have to adapt our products to the needs of the target market. So like I said, that relates to labeling, to packaging, to states, and definitely the standards. And how? Basically, what we're doing through all the cooperation with UNIDO and the European Union especially, is selling good value propositions of goods and services. These products have to be accessible, they have to be appealing. When you go to a supermarket and you find 100 rums, you have to have that special thing that tells you, this is the rum I want. I talk about rum because I'm from the Caribbean and it's a major industry in our countries. The products have to be authentic, even for the tourism industry. I always say that the tourism industry we sell, when you are, for example, in Mauritius, you should be in Mauritius. You should be eating Mauritian food. You should be wearing Mauritian clothing, etc. You should really live the tourism, and also integrating value chains into our own tourism is also a major challenge. It has to be innovative. It has to be consistent, because often we tend to, in the past, to send the same product, but different consistencies, which is really not good, because each time you buy a product, you're waiting to see that the product was that product. You don't want it changed, anything. The taste has always to be the same. It has to be convenient. It has to have good quality. It has to be safe. Again, the TVT is very important. We believe in branding, and it has to have enough volumes for your market. It doesn't mean that you have to have huge volumes, but if you are a small company, you will never target the Chinese market as a whole. You might target a special niche market in China, because you're not looking at huge, and even for the European Union, you really have to understand first your market before going towards it. There is a joint action that will be explained later today by my colleagues, Miguel, Stefan, and Umesh will be talking about it, is the support to business-friendly and inclusive national, regional policies and strengthening capacity on value chains. It intervenes at 3 levels. The macro level is enhancing investment climate, because without a good investment climate, it's difficult to do business. We were trying jointly to work on policies, strategies, regulations, and administrative environment that has been entrusted to the World Bank. And the meso level is UNIDO is working on leveraging intermediary organizations and business membership networks, including investment promotion institutions. And at the micro level, we're working with ITC in the same program, facilitating productive and commercial value chains, alliances, and providing firm level support to formal and informal businesses through capacity building. All of this is a whole, and it fits within the whole strategy that I tried to portray before. Finally, for the final words, I would say that together as a group, the OACPS, the European Union, and UNIDO, we're really working to increase competitiveness at a national level first, but that national level has to create regional networks together, working more also on the continental level, especially with the African Free Trade Area. And we really hope then also exchange of best practices between all the OACPS, because at the end of the day, we're 6 regions, 4 in Africa, the Caribbean and the Pacific, and together we have to exchange best practices. It is impossible that every single program that we do touches every country, but we really want to promote global international development. Thus, the exchange of best practices and working in groups is important, and hopefully all together, we will take our companies to the world market for a better future for our people. So having said this, gracias, thank you, merci, merci, obrigado, thank you, jarejov, asante, binak. And sorry for my broken English. My dad spent too much money in American schools for me to have this accent.
Thank you very much. Gracias, Mr. Oliveira Gomez. And now I would like to move on to the next agenda item on UNIDO Investment and Technology Promotion Flagship Program. And please allow me to remind you that if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. So thank you. And our first speaker is Mr. Stefan Kratz, Industrial Development Officer and Project Manager of UNIDO. So Stefan, you are the project manager of the business-friendly project in ACP countries. So could you please elaborate about your project, in particular how it helps to strengthen local productivities, local productive capacities and value chains?
Thank you very much, Yoshi. Thank you very much, all colleagues from the European Commission, OACPS, and UNIDO colleagues. So it's a pleasure to delve a bit deeper into, indeed, this flagship program, which is called the Program to Support Business-Friendly and Inclusive National and Regional Policies and to Strengthen Value Chains. It's a bit of an unwieldy title, so we call it the Business-Friendly Program, which is a lot more easier to handle as a title. First of all, we are very happy as UNIDO to be associated to this program. We thank OACPS and the European Commission for the trust reposed in UNIDO, but of course also the other implementing partners to be delivering this innovative and novel program, which, as I will elaborate in a moment, has a very interesting governance structure, which bodes well for a very positive impact. So this project is, this program rather, is a program to the tune of 34.4 million euros, out of which 8 million euros have been granted to UNIDO for implementation. The program has now started its implementation phase, and the implementation phase will last for another 4 years. And of course, we are facing unprecedented times, and we are nimble and flexible enough to also take this into account in the way we implement together with our partners. The coverage is the ACP region, the 79 ACP member countries, and we have some national level intervention. But notwithstanding that, and that connects to the last slide that was shown by Mr. Oliveira Gomez, we need to ensure we scale up to the regional, continental, and even at the global level. We are doing this together with two partners, the World Bank Group and the International Trade Center, with which we constantly engage to deliver a better product. So this was already shown in the previous slide by OACPS, but perhaps I can spend a few more minutes on the program theory of change. So this is really about bringing, I would say, the best and the top-notch expertise together by three implementing agencies, such as the World Bank, UNIDO, and ITC. And this kicks in at three different dimensions, at three tiers. The macro-level dimension, as was mentioned, which deals with different levels of regulatory and administrative reforms, and then the governance systems in terms of PPD platforms, etc. around that. This part is taken over by the World Bank. Then there is the meso-level intervention, which needs to vertically very closely link to the macro level. And that is for really ushering in a transformation in the way investment promotion institutions, which explicitly includes public sector institutions, but also private sector institutions, on the way they have been promoting their countries and promoting the opportunities in their countries. And that connects to the micro-level intervention, where ITC is going to support a lot specific value chains in the ACP region. It's not all value chains at the same time, but those value chains that have, again, a potential for regional scaling up. So again, between the meso and the micro level, we feel that the investment promotion approach taken by public sector institutions needs to be a lot more SME driven, a lot more practical in terms of funneling investments into the value chains, whether this is to tackle post-harvest losses, address the issues of transportation, addresses the issue of better branding, first to sell more to the local market, but then of course to sell more to the regional market. And that in a way brings me to the outcome. So we want to create a better investment climate by bringing in those three tiers very closely together. And we want this investment climate to trigger new investments and to also trigger new exports into the European Union and other regions. And this is not to be done only at the national level, but at the regional level as well. And here we want to harness the positive dynamics such as the AFCFTA, which obviously puts a lot of emphasis on regional value chains and the trade dimension within AFCFTA. Of course, there is the investment chapter, which is yet to be opened and discussed under the AFCFTA. But once this happens, we are very glad to also make our contribution. As mentioned before, the engagement levels is the 3 levels, and then we have the regional level engagement. So now zooming in a bit on the UNIDO work, we want to work especially with investment promotion agencies that have as part of their mandate a regional approach. And there are a few, with some of them are strong, some of them are having some capacity constraints. So we have, for instance, the COMESA Regional Investment Agency. We have the Caribbean Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, which Mr. Oliveira Gomez knows very well. He was one of the godfathers of CAIPA, if I may say so. We have PIF, Pacific Trade and Invest, which is another interesting structure that we could work with under this program. We have the Réseau International des Agences de Francophones de Promotion d'Investissement, RIAFPI, which is looking at the Western and Central African region linked to the Francophonie. And then obviously we also have ECOWAS also is very active on investment promotion as a secretariat. Now zooming in further on the work that UNIDO will do is we have 2 themes, and each theme branches out in 3 work streams. The first work stream under theme 1, which is on improving the FDI monitoring capacities of investment promotion agencies, is really to help institutions understand what kind of clients they have to serve. And these are specifically clients that are already invested in the ACP region. And we find an interesting phenomenon in the sense that investment promotion agencies are very eager to promote new investments, whereas they often forget about catering to the needs that are already committed to the countries. And here, in connection with the European Union, interesting structures are emerging, like European business organizations and bilateral and foreign chambers of commerce organizing those sectors in the countries. And here we want to help and first establish the base on which IPAs can roll out better promotion strategies. That links us to work stream 2, to revisit some investment promotion strategies and to specifically look at new groups of investors. And I really like some of the points that were mentioned by the European Commission and also OACPS. Let's look at diaspora, perhaps, as an emerging investment group, intra-ACP investment, impact investors, investors which subscribe to the Green Deal and so on. And let's identify them together with our partners and bring them into these countries. Workstream 3 then is evidence-based policy advocacy, which is very much the link, as I've shown before, between the meso and macro level. So here is where the UNIDO World Bank Nexus has to function very well under the program. The second theme is a very practical, let's say, theme. The objective is to improve through capacity building investment promotion practices, to have institutions better coordinate their work, speak from the same hymn sheet, and cater to the needs of investors. The first one, I alluded to it already, is aftercare investors already in the country have a lot of support, especially now under the COVID-19 crisis. The most agile investment promotion agencies in Europe, for instance, like a partner we are engaging with, the Irish Development Agency, has immediately rolled out an FDR retention strategy, an emergency plan to make sure that the existing group of investors do not divest, but that they stay on to the course and remain in the countries. So helping those investors create linkages with the domestic suppliers or domestic distributors becomes very key, because one hears a lot about short supply chains as one of the means to support or to tackle the effects of the COVID crisis. Workstream 2 is on investment opportunity development and targeting. So we really want to develop a portfolio of new investment opportunities linked to SMEs in ACP countries, and identify the creative proposals, the new ideas that SMEs have, and for which they seek a technology or an equity partner. And here this links to the next presentation. We have tools that we want to bring to the fore, like COMFAR, if we have to go a bit deeper to do a feasibility analysis and so on. The third work stream, it was mentioned by OACPS, is the issue of quality infrastructure. We want to bring quality infrastructure institutions closer to those institutions doing investment promotion, because they are related. Their investment and export promotion or trade promotion are in a way two sides of the same coin. And it was mentioned as well that there will be an additional support to the TBT, and we see Workstream 3 as the segue, the bridge to scale up on the TBT. I will try to very briefly also make the link to the various instruments that we have available within the division. So there is the ITPO network. I'm not going to dwell on this. This will come later in the session. We have a network which is called the SPX, which is to help linkages between local enterprises, domestic enterprises, and foreign investors in the country primarily. And then we have a wide set of tools on learning, including digital tools that support learning for investment promotion agencies in relation to impact investment, in relation to investment appraisal techniques. We learned about gender lens investment, which is coming on stream very soon, and so on. So the next issue is that, as the name suggests, digitalization is the name of the game, but not in the sense that we see digitalization replacing the important human element that has to remain as a pivotal part to bring investees and investors together, but to actually bring digitalization to the fore to help this process and to help maybe eventually even through guided approaches, investors find investees. So in this context, I would be glad to show a video in a moment, just very briefly how the various tools of the division will be deployed within the different work streams. So we have the investment learning, we have the ITPO network, we have the knowledge hub that will be very prominent in the implementation of theme 1. We have other instruments like the SPX, like COMFAR, again, the knowledge hub, another global program for quality and standards funded by Switzerland, which can play an important role under Workstream 3. So we really see this as an eclectic approach to bring in the whole array of instruments that we have. So I want to conclude briefly by showing the work that we are doing on the digital portal, which we are discussing already with OACPS and also the colleagues from the Commission on the modalities for rollout in the very near future. So it's a short video of 2 minutes, which I will show now. Thank you. So that brings me to the conclusion. So this portal will be a very important instrument in complementing our technical cooperation work in OACPS countries, and we really want to use this for shortening the distance between SMEs that are looking for investors, as well as partners that are associated to the external investment plan of the European Commission, and making sure that, especially under Pillar 2 of the external investment plan, we really have an innovative platform to present quickly for screening and filtering for a potential investor, those bankable investment projects that are so critical to make sure that this current capital surplus really is injected into SMEs that require it. So thank you very much, and I hand over to the other panelists.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for sharing your project in the ACP region. Our next speaker is Mr. Umesh Menon, UNIDO COMFAR trainer. As mentioned in Stefan's presentation, the COMFAR stands for Computer Model for Feasibility Analysis and Reporting, which is one of the tools and methodologies for project appraisal and feasibility analysis. So Umesh, could you give us a brief explanation about the COMFAR, please?
Thank you. Distinguished panelists, respected participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to make a presentation on COMFAR. COMFAR stands for Computer Model for Feasibility Analysis and Reporting. It is a UNIDO flagship software for financial and economic analysis of feasibility studies. COMFAR is more than a software. We call it a tool developed by UNIDO to support development of bankable projects, converting a business idea into a bank-ready project. It also helps in providing capacity building, promotes pre-investment studies, and in the last few years, COMFAR has been extensively used by investment promotion agencies to market potential investment opportunities in their regions. COMFAR currently is in its third generation of activity, and that's why we call it COMFAR 3 Expert. COMFAR has over 11,000 plus users. Now, when we say 11,000 users, it means 11,000 licenses, and the number of users could be well over 50,000. It has been used in 160 plus countries, and COMFAR is available in 19 languages. COMFAR uses the time-tested UNIDO methodology of project development cycle, which has been based on research from UNIDO over the last 40 years. COMFAR is used by entrepreneurs, governments, banks, and financial institutions, venture capitalists, private equity investors, and angel investors. It has been used extensively by transnational companies and consulting firms. UNIDO and other international agencies, as well as UN agencies, have been using COMFAR for the last many years. We have also been supporting many government departments in using COMFAR for finance and economic planning, especially in the economic analysis, which we call also the social cost benefit analysis. We can use COMFAR to prepare a project study in the pre-investment phase, during the investment phase as a guide, during the operating phase to plan your actual operations and compare it with the original plans, and during the decommissioning phase to decide on how to decommission the project with minimum losses and maximum returns. COMFAR is a software that is very easy to access and easy to operate. It has user-defined flexibility. It uses the cash flow model, which is a more reliable model and which takes into consideration the entire life of the project and not just the profitability model. It offers an enterprise level analysis of doing a financial analysis alone. At the same time, it also allows the user to do an economic analysis as to how the feasibility study interacts with the economic environment of the country or the region. You can have results presented in a graphical format and a tabular numeric format also. COMFAR provides in-depth analysis of sensitivities, and COMFAR can be used for industrial and non-industrial projects. I will explain them a bit later. And as I told you, it is available in 19 languages. So it's a multilingual software. In COMFAR, we can do an opportunity study, a pre-feasibility study, and a feasibility study. We offer the software itself at UNIDO. We also offer a training on the software, and we also offer services of preparing a feasibility study for any client who may want a feasibility study to be done. There are predefined templates available in COMFAR, which include industry, agriculture, infrastructure, environment, mining, and tourism. However, you can also prepare a feasibility study which goes beyond these predefined templates, and you can prepare feasibility study for any size or any sector. You can use COMFAR for evaluating new projects. You can evaluate existing projects for expansion, modernization, rehabilitation, or valuation. You can use COMFAR for economic analysis and do a national value added methodology or a social cost benefit analysis methodology. Let me tell you, dear audience, that COMFAR is probably the only software that is available in the market where you can do financial analysis and economic analysis on the same platform. And COMFAR helps you analyze joint ventures as well as value chains. Now, this is very important, especially for investment promotion agencies, which are promoting investments through joint ventures and partnership promotion. And you can use this software for micro enterprises as well as for transnational enterprises. COMFAR, you can use it at constant prices or with inflation. And when there is inflation, you may have to look at revaluation of assets. You can also analyze the project through a cost escalation model. COMFAR allows cost center analysis, where you can analyze each cost center within the enterprise that you are planning and its behavior in the overall cost structure. And COMFAR allows a planning horizon of 10 years of construction phase and up to 50 years of production phase. And the unique feature of COMFAR is that it allows a startup phase of 24 months, which means in the first 24 months, the user can do the data entry on a more pinpointed, accurate basis of a monthly level. And in COMFAR, you can analyze a project which has up to 20 products or services. And the beauty of COMFAR is that when you are doing these 20 products, you can get product-wise profitability if you use the cost allocation mechanism. And you can use COMFAR with up to 20 currencies, and you can get the results in any of the 20 currencies defined. So you can prepare a feasibility study in euro, and you can convert it into your own local currency whenever you want at the click of a button. And it has enough flexibility. When I say the concept of flexibility would mean that you can expand each data entry node up to 20 nodes in 5 levels, which means you can do a data entry of 20 multiplied by 20 multiplied by 20 up to 5 levels. And COMFAR offers a very strong sensitivity analysis tool which helps you evaluate the sensitivities of the project in terms of sales revenue, changes in production cost, changes in investments, and changes in any other parameter that you want to analyze. And at the click of a button, you can get multiple results of different sensitivities. We offer COMFAR trainings at UNIDO, and we have 3 levels of trainings accompanied by a certificate issued by the director himself. And the levels of training are beginners, which is a basic understanding of the software and the maneuvering of the software. And at the advanced level, we train the participant into understanding infrastructure projects and highly complex tools of comparative analysis and economic analysis. And then at the training of trainers level, which is a certification which is accompanied not just for attending, but also you are required to prepare your own cases, and you have to go through an evaluation process by the trainer who is doing the training of trainers. So at this level, you are taught how to train people in COMFAR. And what has been the beauty of the COMFAR program is that it has set up a network of trainers across the world wherever COMFAR has been introduced. So as we say in UNIDO, it's not just a software, it is a culture. If you need any more information about COMFAR in terms of buying the software or getting yourself trained, please contact comfar@unido.org. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Umesh, for the introducing COMFAR. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Miguel Campo Lopez, who is the Policy Officer of UNIDO EU, the Directorate General for International Partnership of European Commissions. Mr. Lopez, you are UNIDO's counterpart at the European Commission for the ACP business-friendly project. So I believe you are closely working with Stefan. So could you please share your views on the challenges and opportunities of the cooperation between EU and UNIDO in the ACP countries? Please.
Yes, thank you very much, Joshi, and hello to everyone, and hello to the panelists. And I will start by saying that it's a challenge to say something interesting after such a high level of panelists providing such an amount of information and good knowledge. But also we're a bit behind schedule, so I won't spend much time. I will try to be short, but I would like to put a bit of context into the business friendly, and the context is related of how from the Commission, since the approval of the Agenda 2030, and very much related to something that Bernardo already said, which is the investment gap. We started working on on this new approach, which is the EIP, the European External Investment Plan, that was approved in 2017. And that basically more than a change in instruments, it was a change of philosophy of the way we were willing to work, because we were trying to combine financial instruments, be it guarantees or blended finance, with supporting investment climate reforms. So in 2017, we launched the European External Investment Plan. And for this instrument, we allocated 6 billion for financial instruments. And since then, we've been allocating around 2.4 billion for investment climate. So the idea is that if we combine investments or instruments that attract investments with policy and regulatory reform, we will be able to make more impact. We will be able also to bring on board private sector investments, and we will be able to contribute in a better way to the Agenda 2030. And it is in this context that actually the business friendly also was defined. And it was designed in a way that we wanted to replicate this logic in a way into a program, bringing together the strengths of different actors to actually create more change. So the theory of change behind the program was that if on the one hand we have a partner like ITC working with producers, and we have another partner like UNIDO working with investment promotion agencies, and the third partner, the World Bank, working on policy and regulatory reform, and there's a dialogue between the three levels, we will have more impact. And this is also embedded very much in our philosophy of how we work with investment climate, because we strongly believe on the idea of a dialogue among partners, among different levels of the ecosystem, and among private and public sector. And this is how it was designed. It was a challenge, and it is still a challenge, because it's not always easy to promote this kind of conversation among the different levels. But we feel that without it, we cannot really ensure success. As such, the OACPS and UNIDO and the Commission, we have been working for the last 3 years. Obviously, the COVID has been a challenge. First, because it has had an impact on the capacity to go to countries that sit down with our partner institutions. And we all know that virtual means work, and that have been working for us for the last year, but we also know it's not the same, that being able to sit down and open a more direct dialogue. But we have been making some progress, and we're quite happy. And one of the tools that we really are happy with is this virtual platform that Stefan presented, because we feel that this perfectly represents our philosophy of how we want to work. On the one hand, strengthening the capacities in this case of investment promotion agencies, but also bringing together the different instruments. And as Stefan was mentioning, this platform will allow IPS to disseminate investment opportunities, creating a link with external international investors and local investors, but also creating a link with our financial instruments of the EIP. So we feel that this kind of instruments is where we can really make change. Of course, working at the policy regulatory level, working with producers and working strengthening capacities of IPS, it's a very valuable element, but we also have to bring new tools into the system that really allow us to create change and to be able to tap into the different actors of the system and make sure that we are moving towards the achievement of the SDGs. We know that this is a challenge more now than ever, and as my head of unit, Cecile, was saying, more than ever, we have to bring together our strengths. And as such, we are working with OACPS, not only on the business friendly, but on other programs. What we're trying to do is support partner countries of the ACP regions by bringing together the knowledge of different actors. The same way we have on the business friendly 3 key players of the international arena when it comes to investment climate and business environment reforms. We also have instruments like the ICR facility, who is bringing together member states in a Team Europe approach. And we are working on new instruments that can work in a similar way. UNIDO, it's been a key player in all this. It is one of our main actors when it comes to promoting this kind of initiatives, not only through the business friendly, we have other strategic programs with them, such as the West Africa Competitive Program. And we feel that they're a solid partner to go with us through this path and to work, especially in this context of crisis, where using this kind of platforms will be a game changer. We are allowed to connect the dots even if we cannot travel and move between countries. And we are really looking forward to launch this platform together with UNIDO and the OACPS and start engaging with real investors on real investments, linking them to our guarantees, to our blended finance instruments, and making sure that we are making real impactful change on the countries we are working with. So with this, I would like to finish now and give the floor back to you, and happy to answer any question any of the participants might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez. And here I would like to invite Mr. Oliveira Gomez for further comments. Please, Mr. Oliveira Gomez.
Thank you very much. For me, it has been a pleasure really being here today with many friends. And I think we all spoken the same word, is that together and with other partners, we're really working towards a better future for our people, and that better future passes through creating a better business environment and fostering competitiveness at the level of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. We've spoken a lot about work that we're doing. This work is very important. And at the end of the day, what we really want to do is integrate real national and regional value chains. This is why for example, we're talking about cocoa. Cocoa is one of the products that unites all OACPs, because you have excellent cocoa in the Pacific, in Vanuatu, in the Caribbean, you have Haiti, Belize, Dominican Republic, Grenada. In Africa, you have Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Ghana, Cameroon, and others. So, and this is one of the programs that was, one of the products that was selected for the value chain program under the business friendly program. So the idea that I really want to pass today is a work of unity. I think that the role of UNIDO, especially through Stefan and definitely Patrick in Brussels, people that are very open really to work with others, that are very receptive, is of the utmost importance. For us, the European Union is a great partner. It's a partner that has accompanied us since the creation of the OACPS group, and with the renewed partnership agreement, as Cecile was explaining, the recently renewed partnership agreement between us, we believe that this is a way of further strengthening the relationship and working in regards, at the end of the day, for the Sustainable Development Goals. I really wanted to thank everybody for the time. We're always at your disposal. Mr. Chicote, our Secretary General, is really trying to transform the organization in an organization that is fit for purpose. I sometimes say that the OACPS is the best kept secret in the world, because we do a lot of work and we impact a lot of people, but they don't see much the relationship of the beneficiaries on us. But we will continue to work with our embassies here that guide us and with our SMEs towards a better future. I don't have much to say, only to say that all the pictures that I showed in the presentation are programs funded by the European Union throughout the world. So most of them were taken by myself. So all of this that you saw, I forgot to say, are beneficiaries of programs that we do together. So thank you very much for your time. Muchísimas gracias. Abrazos a todos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oliveira Gomez. And now I'd like to welcome our colleague, Ms. Teresa Ruth, the project manager of the UNIDO's ITP division. So Teresa, could you introduce UNIDO's Investment and Technology Promotion Network?
Thank you very much, Yoshi. And thank you to all the speakers from the EU, OACPS, and UNIDO who spoke before me. I'm, of course, a project associate in the Investment and Technology Promotion Division. I just wanted to put that right. I'm now going to share my screen. And I would like to now briefly present the UNIDO Investment and Technology Promotion Network. We have heard a bit about it already throughout the session. Investment promotion has a long tradition in UNIDO, and in 1976, the first investment promotion service was launched in Brussels. And it later evolved into the Investment and Technology Promotion Offices, ITPOs, as we know them today. On the left of the slide, you can see where the ITP network is organizationally located within UNIDO, forming part of the Investment and Technology Promotion Division within the Department of Digitalization, Technology and Innovation, and of the Directorate of Digitalization, Technology and Agribusiness. The ITP network currently counts 9 ITPOs worldwide, located both in industrialized and in industrializing countries. We have currently 2 ITPOs in the EU, namely in Germany and in Italy. The ITPO in Italy has a long history dating back to 1987, and ITPO Germany is a fairly new ITPO, which was established in 2017. The ITPOs are self-funded by the host governments, and UNIDO has received additional requests for the establishment of new ITPOs, which we are currently working towards expanding the ITP network. I have just mentioned that the ITPOs are both located in industrialized and in industrializing countries, and depending on the location, they have a different mandate. In industrialized countries, they're devoted exclusively to promoting investment and technology transfer from host countries to developing countries. And in developing countries, they promote both inward and outward investment and technology transfer. Now, what kind of services do the ITPOs offer to promote investment and also the transfer of technology? ITPOs offer advisory services to enterprises and business development organizations, and thus act as neutral broker for inclusive and sustainable investment and technology projects. They facilitate business matchmaking through the organization of B2B meetings or project site visits and study tours, and thus facilitate mutually beneficial technology transfer. The ITPOs organize and participate global fora events and also participate in trade shows to raise awareness on current trends in investment promotion and the 4IR. And through the delegate program, ITPOs host delegates from government and business organizations and private sector from developing countries to build capacity for investment and technology promotion and technology adoption. In addition to the services I have just mentioned, the ITPOs also expand their service offer through the advisory program. ITPO Japan, for instance, has launched its advisory program in 2014. And through this program, local advisors are hired in target countries, and they provide up-to-date information on the business climate, on the investment climate to potential investors and technology providers. ITPO Japan has advisors in Nigeria, Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Mozambique, and Senegal. And ITPO Korea launched its advisory program in 2019 with a focus on UNIDO program for country partnership countries, namely in Cambodia, Ethiopia, and Peru. And ITPO Germany will be the 3rd ITPO to launch an advisory program this year, focusing on 3 to 4 sub-Saharan African countries. And as you can see from this advisory program, the geographical focus of the ITPOs differs depending, of course, on the development priorities of the country, and also the sectoral focus of each ITPO might be a bit different depending on national priorities as well. Now, you might wonder, why are there UNIDO ITPOs if we have also investment promotion agencies or, for example, also international chambers of commerce? And I would like to mention that the UNIDO ITPOs are complementary to these institutions and structures that already exist. And in the establishment of an ITPO, we look into how synergies can be created between these different organizations and structures. And of course, one of the benefits of an ITPO is the access that it provides to UNIDO and to the UNIDO services, which is, for instance, through creating synergies with UNIDO technical services in the area of quality, standardization, agribusiness, environment, and energy, but also, of course, the network working with all the ITPOs through the through the ITP Network Secretariat, which is located here at headquarters and which facilitates synergetic collaboration for greater impact. The ITPOs, of course, have access to UNIDO training tools and methodologies, such as COMFAR, about which we have already heard today. And through the participation in UNIDO Global Fora events, the ITPOs also have or profit from UNIDO's convening role. Now, I just would like to give a brief example of an ITP network joint initiative for greater impact. the UNIDO Global Call for Innovative Ideas and Technologies versus COVID-19 and Beyond, which was initiated by ITPO Italy and was conducted as an ITP network-wide initiative to help identify scalable and readily deployable solutions against the COVID-19 pandemic for the benefit of developing countries. And through this initiative, which was promoted through the entire ITP network and also the network of UNIDO field offices, we managed to attract more than 1,100 applications and innovative ideas and technologies from 108 countries. Of course, there were also a lot of other ITP network initiatives last year. Many of them included the participation in global fora events such as the Africa Industrialization Week or the Global Manufacturing Industrialization Summit. I'm not going to mention them in detail here. I just would also like to give a few more examples of ITPO's activities. At the beginning of the session, we have already heard how the ITPOs have contributed to UNIDO's response against COVID-19. And here are a few more examples of ITPO activities over the last year. ITPO Beijing, for instance, promoted the use of high-tech disinfectant products in the fight against COVID-19. ITPO Germany launched a study on the impact of COVID-19 on investments in the agribusiness and food industry in African and Asian markets. ITPO Italy showcased innovative solutions for urban environments at the Euroscience Forum in 2020. And ITPO Bahrain, who has a very successful and long-standing entrepreneurship development and investment promotion program, has conducted this program entirely virtually over the last year. Of course, a lot of activities had to be shifted virtually, but those are just a few examples of how the ITPOs have adapted to the crisis and have moved their activities to fit the current circumstances. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much more time. In case you would like to learn more about the ITPOs and also about the ITP network, I would of course like to invite you to join the upcoming sessions of ITPO Italy on 10th of March on the topic of the digital future of sustainable industrial manufacturing in Italy and beyond, and ITPO Germany's event on investment and technology transfer from Germany as a driver for economic development in Europe and Africa on March 24th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa. And now we'd like to move on to the Q&A sessions. And first, I'd like to thank the audience for your interest in sending us the questions. And thanks to the panelists for answering them so actively. So some of the questions are already answered in the Q&A function. So please see the response there. And since we have very limited time for this session, so I'd like to remind the panelists to limit your answers within 1 or 2 minutes, please. So first, I'd like to ask the question to Mr. Lopez. Aside from the ACP project of which we heard of, what are the other projects or initiatives of the EU to promote investment for increased competitiveness? And what do you think will be the challenges and opportunities in the post-pandemic era?
Okay, this is a very difficult one for 2 minutes, but I'll do my best.
Thank you.
In terms of projects, as I said, we have 2.8 billion euros in project and investment climate. So our portfolio is extremely large, and it would be difficult to talk about all of them. As you know, the Commission works at 3 levels. So we work from a national point of view through our delegations, and there's a substantial portfolio of interventions there. We have also regional interventions, like I was mentioning, the WACOM project, the competitive project for West Africa. And then we have intra-ACP programs bringing together the 3 regions and global programs. So it's difficult to talk about any specific instrument. Within this alliance with UNIDO, we, as my head of UNIDO was saying, we specifically have 200 million euros ongoing now on projects and on different issues. So difficult to go into details. Talking about the pandemic and the post-pandemic challenges and opportunities. So it's clearly the challenge for me right now. It's trying to make sure that we don't go backwards. So as we see the numbers coming in from the different surveys, analysis, diagnostics of GDP growth and etc., what we see is that we are clearly having problems trying to retain investments. There's issues on inequality. Digital is clearly a solution, but it's also a challenge because digital, if not well managed, can only enlarge inequalities. We know for a fact, looking at all the surveys, that women are being more impacted, and women-led companies are being more impacted by the crisis. So we have to pay special attention now more than ever to women economic empowerment. We also find that employment and working with the different levels of the employment ecosystem, it's key, bringing together the different actors. So the challenges are enormous. We already had a lot of challenges before the pandemic, and the pandemic has only shown that those challenges are more critical now than ever. And we find that like my head of unit said, we find that bringing partners together is more important than ever, because only by bringing our strengths together, it's not only a question of bringing more investments, more resources, bringing on board the private sector and the investors, it's also bringing our capacities as international partners together with OACPS, with UNIDO, but also with other actors. We are already doing this in Europe. My head of unit was explaining, we've launched the Team Europe approach, which is in itself a philosophy of bringing together to multiply the impact. But also outside of Europe, we have to continue bringing together strength. We won't do it alone. This is a fact. It was complicated before COVID. Now it's just simply impossible. So we have to make sure that we go beyond our institutional rationale, and we start thinking of how can we bring together private, public, social, civil society, all actors and all institutions, because if not, we will reach 2030 and we will see that we've not only not achieved SDGs, but we probably even have new challenges that we did not foresee, and that's not the commitment we all made back in 2016.
Thank you very much. Due to the time limitation, we will give only one more questions, and apologies in advance for the audience that some questions may not have been answered. One more question to Stefan. In the area of investment promotion to increase competitiveness, what do you think will be the main challenges and opportunities to accelerate the digitalization, especially in the ACP countries?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would structure the answer around 3 points. I think the first point links to the business environment. Even if the SMEs are willing and conversant with IT technologies, but if the business environment does not offer, the bandwidth that is required to digitize, and neither does it offer, let's say, the regulatory safety for companies to transition to digital solution, it remains difficult to be addressed by the SME alone. So that links again to a bit the logic that we presented in the business friendly, that these kind of things have to be complemented by business climate reform. The second point, I think, is skills. Skills at the level of the SMEs. Those SMEs that are lagging behind need to learn from those that really seize the opportunity in this current COVID-19 pandemic to move ahead and conquer new markets. It's very clear that those SMEs that were early adopters of digital solutions like e-commerce, e-banking, etc., have come very, very good through the crisis. Even on the contrary, they have done, they have grown their business. So what can we do in terms of peer-to-peer learning on this front? And the third part would be on skills development. Digitalization is not, let's say, a trivial issue. It comes with very specific knowledge on technology, on cybersecurity, on coding, etc. And this is something where the vocational training centers need to churn out more future employees or more future entrepreneurs who can drive this business forward. And that again requires maybe for host governments to recalibrate their expenditure pattern to really support more this digital transformation. And of course, in all this, partners like UNIDO can play a role, as the name of the department suggests. Digitalization, technology, and innovation has cascaded very deeply in all the levels of UNIDO, and it's affecting the way we are doing current technical cooperation, and even more so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And due to the time limitation, now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Patrick Glabat for the concluding remarks. Mr. Glabat, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to Bernardo, Cécile, Scipion, and all colleagues for this great session. And thank you for all participants to be still with us. You have seen one example of partnership we have with the UN, UNIDO, EU, and OACPS. Because as we all know and we all understand, with the COVID-19 crisis, we cannot work alone. And we have to really align everybody and to all work as one UN team and one team. So in fact, in UNIDO, we are really promoting and we are really providing all our tools as one UNIDO. So we have the HQ in Vienna, of course, but I like to mention that we have also liaison offices in Brussels, in New York, in Geneva. And we are really based in the country, in the field. So we have 48 field offices, 9 ITPOs, as you have seen, energy centers, national cleaner production centers. So we have the full range of technical centers and field offices really to address challenges of today. We don't work alone, we work as one UN, so with the UN family. You have seen the example of the project with Stefan, working with the World Bank and ITC. We value, and that's very important for us, to work with the EU. So we have this partnership, very strong partnership with the EU, where we want to work with all DGs, with INPA, of course, with DG NIR, and especially we work with EIB, European Investment Bank, and the Parliament, because we want to engage with the European Parliament. We engage a lot with the EU delegations in the field, because the point is really to provide concrete solutions in development to countries, in fact. So we work with EU delegations within the UN family, so within the UN country team and the resident coordinator. And we partner a lot and we work a lot with OACPS. That's very, very important. And we wish and we want really to have concrete activities and projects in all OACPS countries, in the 79 ACP member states, because that's important to address all countries and to work in Africa, in Pacific, in Caribbean, in small island in development. Really, we should work in, and we are working in 79 ACP countries. And finally, we address and we work with the EU public and private sector, as you have seen, because the point is to partner and to increase and to strengthen the private sector in developing countries, and we do it with partners from the EU. So really we want to connect the dots, and we want to connect the capacity of the EU private sector and public sector with also the need and the capacity of developing countries, and especially today with the ACP countries. So this is in a nutshell one example of what we do together as one UN, as UNIDO, with EU, with OACPS. I would like to thank you very much, and we have the next session next week with Italy, so I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much. Yoshi, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dilabar. Now, I'd like to thank again our distinguished guest speakers and our audience for joining our first UNIDO session today. And we look forward to seeing you at our 2 following events on 10th and 24th March. So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.